Welcome to a special edition of DBL. Today we are wearing red, all of us here in honor of National Wear Red Day, and we are celebrating all things heart health with our Heart to Heart edition of DBL. And we, of course, are joined by our resident medical expert and cardiologist, fantastic cardiologist, Dr. Pyle Coley.
Fantastic.
I was hoping you'd catch that. I was like, oh no, as I said it, Jeff's going to say something. Dr. Coley, heart disease is the #1 killer in the U.S., which you've said a number of times now, and I'm glad. Keep repeating that, because for a lot of us, we don't see it that way.
Right.
And there's been so many advancements happening that statistically could change that heart disease would be the #1 killer. Are you hopeful that this will happen in our lifetime?
I am so excited, guys, because we have so many things out there. I mean, think about the medical technology. We can, monitor our hearts on our watches.
Right.
Think about the advances in medications. When I started medical school over 20 years ago, we had a few drugs. Now I have this many, and they can prevent heart disease, they can prevent kidney disease, they can prevent lung disease. And so I feel like we have all these tools in our toolbox that can really, really change the future.
I love that.
You had a moment there 20 years ago.
I know. All right, well, something we do want to talk about now is the story of Owen Monroe. Okay, a warning, some of you might find this graphic. Owen was born with a heart defect, forcing his parents to make a life-changing decision. Just 17 days after he was born, Owen received the world's first partial heart transplant. It's been a year since the procedure. Owen is thriving, thank goodness. Now, before we talk with Owen's parents, Dr. Coley, what is a partial heart transplant?
This is groundbreaking because, kids like Owen who are born with problems with their heart valves, we used to just put the valve in. And then every time they grew, we would have to have another operation. Take out the valve and put in another valve. Then we got a little smarter. We said, why don't we put the valve and the arteries that hold the valve so that as the arteries grow, they kind of help the valve to grow as well. So now this is a one and done, hopefully, type of operation for kids like Owen.
Rather than a series of
operations over
yeah.
and over and over again.
Yeah,
wow.
And since he's had it, many other kids have actually had it. So it's Owen has made science and history.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Made history. So let's chat with Owen's parents, Tayler and Nick. Welcome to DBL. What an honor to speak with you both. Wearing red.
Great to be here.
Thank you guys so much for being here. It's so important. Those pictures, wow.
I know.
They really got me. They really got me. But Tayler, when did you first know something was wrong with Owen?
So it was during my 20-week anatomy scan. We were getting the typical, scan that you usually do, and the sonographer got really quiet whenever she was looking at the images of Owen's heart. If you're in medicine, you know that that's never a good thing when they get quiet. She went and got, I think it was 2 other sonographers at that time to look at the images as well. They all had the same reaction. Everyone was very quiet, and we were then told that we would have to meet with the high-risk doctor in her office after that scan. That is when we were told about Owen's original truncus arteriosus congenital heart defect diagnosis. It was at that appointment that we were informed that he would have to have some kind of open heart surgery repair for the truncus arteriosus. At that point, we didn't know if it would be hours to days to weeks after he was born, and we would be followed up with pediatric cardiology for an echo to confirm. So we knew going into his delivery that he would have to have an operation of some sort. We just didn't know it would end up being a transplant and then a partial transplant.
Wow. Nick, what did the doctors say were your options, and how did they suggest that this partial heart transplant happen?
Well, it wasn't until the first day of rounds. I went to go see him at 7 a.m. Tayler was still in her postpartum room, and that's when the doctors came up to me and said, well, his case is actually way worse than we thought, so he's going to need a heart transplant. So I had the responsibility to go back to my wife's room 7 hours postpartum and tell her that he needs a heart transplant.
Oh, God.
And it was until the next day that Dr. Carboni and Dr. Turek came in, and they said to us, look, we can do a traditional truncus repair on him, but because of the severity of the leak of his heart, the outcomes aren't going to be very good. That's one option. Second option was a full transplant, but it takes 3 to 6 months for a newborn heart to come up, and they didn't think he had that kind of time. So they said, well, we've got this thing that we've been working on called a partial heart transplant. We think we can get it done in the next 2 weeks. And yeah.
What a difficult decision for you guys. And, you know, Tayler, it's very common in medicine for us to test our treatments in animal models and, you know, clinical trials before they go into humans. But this particular partial heart transplant was only done in piglets before it was done on Owen. So Owen literally made history. And how did it feel as his parents to know that he was the first human that it was going to be tested on?
I think at that time it was very scary, the unknown of what was going to happen, the fact that it had never been done on a human before. I also know that Nick and I did a lot of research on Duke and on Dr. Turek at that time. And so we knew that he was in the best hands possible for any procedure that were to happen. Dr. Turek made us feel very comfortable with the piglets and those operations. He also had 3D printed a copy of Owen's heart, so he knew all of the anatomical structures that he was going to be operating on. And he was going into the lab multiple times, you know, throughout the stay of those 17 days before the operation to perfect this new procedure. So we knew, even though it had never been done on a human before, that Owen could not have been in any better hands than he was in.
Well, I want to thank you as a scientist and as a physician, because I think you've actually given a gift by allowing Owen to bring this to medicine and to other kids who might need this.
I mean,
Thank you.
You know, we're sitting. I think we're all just kind of stunned at what we've witnessed, but we have to get to some good stuff. All right, Owen is doing well.
Yay!
All right, so let's remember, there's always yes, that's a beautiful thing. So I have to ask you guys, more than anybody, you can answer this. What does it mean to see him thrive?
It's the greatest blessing for sure. There were a lot of times when we were leaving the hospital to go back to the Ronald McDonald House, and we would look in the back seat and see his empty car seat and wonder, you know, is he ever going to get to use it?
Oh my gosh.
And then we were discharged in May with 17 daily medications that we had to give him around the clock, and now we're only down to 2. So it's sort of amazing to get to basically see him acting like a regular toddler, running around the house, exploring the world, and it's the most wonderful thing to get to experience the world through his eyes.
I'm so happy hearing that. Now, while Owen is clearly thriving, and this is coming from someone who her brother-in-law had to have, because of a donor, he was able to have a double lung transplant. So I think it's always important that we remember that in order for donations to be possible, somebody is donating that organ. So what message do you have for donors out there and their families?
First of all, we just want to say thank you to our donor family. We are eternally grateful for everything that they've done and the selfless decision that they made. Owen would not be here today without them. If you are not a donor, please, please, please sign up to be a donor. It does not affect you in any way if you are still on this earth. However, you can potentially save a life or multiple lives, as you've seen here today. It is the greatest gift you could ever give someone, to be an organ donor. And I promise you that recipient and those families will be forever grateful for that decision that you made.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Tayler and Nick, thank you so much for sharing Owen's story with us. DBL Nation, if you want to know more about this amazing breakthrough, follow Tayler on Instagram at Tayler.Monroe20 or find her on Facebook. Thank you both so much. And send our best, please, to little Owen. We'll be right back. Thank you.